Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, where we break down the most important CPA Canada exam topics into clear, practical lessons. Today, we're tackling the most asked question and what everyone struggles with: how to finish a case on time. If you've ever been unsure about how to finish a case on time, how to balance your assessment opportunities, or how to stop yourself from writing too much on a single topic, this video is for you. I will also go through some specific execution strategies that are very similar to what you will need on exam day. If you find the content helpful, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a member. I also love hearing from you in the comments and will try to reply as much as I can. Let me know in the comments which time management topics in this video you find most challenging or what CPA topic you'd like me to cover next. Here is exactly what we will cover today. We're going to break down the good enough revolution, how to escape the sequential trap, technical speed runs, the stop and move on reflex, and finally, hard ceiling training. Let's dive right in. The first and most important paradigm shift you need to make is adopting the good enough everywhere rule. In the CPA program, math wins over perfection every single time. Let's look at how the grading actually works. A not addressed NA assessment opportunity scores the exact same as a nominal competence, NC. They both effectively give you zero value toward passing that specific competency area. Therefore, leaving an AO entirely untouched is the greatest risk to your pass-fail result. Take a look at the marginal returns curve on the screen. The jump from NA to reached competence, RC, and then to competence, C, is where all the value is. Reaching a C is roughly worth double an RC. But here's the kicker. Pushing a response from competent to competent with distinction, CD, adds basically zero additional value to your pass-fail result, unless of course you are aiming to be recognized as the top 10 exam writers in the province. However, for most of us regular people, a C and CD will be the same. The opportunity cost of perfection is massive. The 15 minutes you spend polishing an audit procedure you've already mastered can result in an NA on a tax issue later in the case. This leads to what we call comfort topic bias. Candidates frequently overinvest time in topics they enjoy or find easy. If you love financial reporting, you might accidentally write 3 pages on an impairment issue, even when you met the requirements for competence on page 1. You have to learn to stop polishing and move forward. Step 2. Escaping the sequential trap. Next, let's talk about the pre-writing phase. A lot of candidates fall into what we call the sequential trap. The sequential trap is the habit of treating your case like a checklist. You just tackle the issues from top to bottom, in the exact order they appear in the prompt. This is often non-optimal because you may miss urgent or highly important requirements buried at the very end of the case. In fact, the CPA Canada Board of Examiners has explicitly noted that candidates who tackle issues sequentially often lack the depth required for the most important issue, which is sometimes intentionally placed last to test your prioritization skills. Instead, you need to look before you leap. Skim the case first to identify all the issues, organize them, and connect them to the relevant appendices before you begin typing your response. To do this effectively, use the 3-step reading rule. First, skim the case materials quickly to get the lay of the land. Second, read the specific requirements and questions very carefully. Third, reread the materials deeply to pick up the nuances, unique case facts, and connect them to your outline. A quick rule of thumb for sequencing. If an exam features a single central case, you generally want to answer questions in sequence, as they likely build on each other. But for independent mini cases, consider answering them in order of difficulty, securing your strongest areas first. Step 3. Technical speed runs and execution mechanics. Step 3 is all about execution mechanics, speed, and the tools at your disposal. First off, digital outlining. You need to create your outline directly on the computer rather than on paper. Writing on paper means you have to type it all out again later. Typing your outline directly into your Word document allows you to seamlessly expand those bullet points into your final paragraphs, saving critical minutes. However, this is a personal preference. For me, I make a paper outline for any cases 80 minutes and under, and electronic for the longer cases. Just know that if you make an outline on the computer, the outline is not marked. So if you're going to turn your outline into your response, make sure it clearly looks like a response, or else the marker will not mark it. Next, let's talk about using acronyms. To speed up your recall during the exam, make silly acronyms or memory phrases for absolutely everything. For example, if you are listing out all the audit assertions, use a memory phrase like CPA, which stands for the Canadian CPA and companions went to the ER. These quirky memory tricks will save you the time and stress of trying to pull complex lists out of thin air under pressure. This pairs perfectly with selective memorization. Memorize straightforward criteria using your acronyms so you can recall them instantly without searching the handbook entirely. But for anything highly complex, use a simple copy-paste from the handbook to save time and prevent typos. I have a video on how to navigate the handbook and criteria I searched up for during my exam in a separate video. Feel free to check it out after. And speaking of typing, let's look at benchmarks. While some argue typing speed is secondary to discipline, top writers often aim for 60 to 70 words per minute. If you are below the recommended minimum of 40 to 45 words per minute, you might want to spend 15 minutes a day doing typing drills. Writing cheat codes. Now let's get into the actual writing cheat codes to maximize conciseness and utilize templates effectively. Skip unrewarded sections. Many marking rubrics and feedback guides do not award any marks for basic definitions. For example, spending a paragraph defining what property, plant, and equipment is will score you 0. Skip the textbook definitions and go straight to analyzing the specific criteria being tested. However, if the case asks you for what it is, or if you find the user not knowing anything, it might be needed to explain the basics. The split out point method. When you are dealing with multiple similar items, like analyzing 3 different legal agreements or 3 similar leases, do not repeat yourself. Provide a high-level, summarized discussion for their commonalities first. Then, only analyze the differences after the split-out point. Eliminate redundant analysis. If a specific scenario or criterion is clearly not met by the case facts, ignore it or summarize it in one sentence. Focus your depth on the criteria that actually apply to the case. Merge theory and facts. Avoid textbook dumps. Markers are looking for a unique answer that merges your understanding of the accounting theory with the specific, unique facts of the case in front of you. Show them why it matters to this specific client. Professional judgment. For complex issues without a clear, right answer, list the for and against facts clearly, and then make a definitive conclusion. This demonstrates to the marker that you understand the nuances of the issue and aren't afraid to make a professional call. I always tell people to explicitly say, "This is my recommendation." Step 4. The stop and move on reflex. Step 4 is mastering the stop and move on reflex. This is a defensive psychological habit you must build. The rule is simple. When your allotted time for an assessment opportunity expires, you must conclude and move to the next requirement immediately, even if you are in the middle of a thought or a sentence. Look at the compounding threat on the screen. If you steal just 3 extra minutes on 5 different AOs, you create a 15-minute deficit. That could leave you with under 30 minutes for your final case, which is a guaranteed disaster. This ties directly into the comfort topic bias we discussed earlier. Candidates often overinvest in familiar topics because it feels good to write about what they know, sometimes eating up to 40% of their entire time budget. You need to enforce the execution rule. Cut yourself off. Funneling extra time into one AO simply steals points from the rest of your exam. Step 5. Hard ceiling training. Finally, step 5 is how you actually build that discipline. Hard ceiling training. You cannot learn composure on exam day. If you practice without exam-like conditions by extending the clock just to get it all down or get up and walk around, you leave no time for a proper debrief, and you will see 0 improvement in your real pressure execution. Instead, you must implement capped practice. If the case is only 60 minutes, only take 60 minutes to write it with one laptop, one screen, a wired mouse, and the keyboard that comes with the laptop. You're not going to get your home setup on the exam day. And remember the Curveball protocol. CPA Canada almost always includes one obscure topic, specifically designed to separate the top scorers and distract everyone else. Do not let it derail your time budget. Thanks again for watching, and if you found this lesson helpful, please like and subscribe. I try to release new CPA exam preparation videos every week. If this video helped you, drop a comment below and let me know which time management topic was the biggest eye-opener for you or which area you'd like me to cover next. I read every comment and always appreciate hearing from everyone. And if you know someone else studying for the CPA Canada exam who's struggling with finishing their cases on time, do them a favor and share this video with them. God bless.